Boxing Truth here, back with another video. Make sure to smash that like button, like, subscribe, all that good stuff. Alright, let's talk about Canelo as he's mulling a two-fight deal between two broadcasters. Right now, Fox and PBC and Matchroom and DAZN are working hard for Canelo's services for at least the next two fights. Whoever Canelo chooses for his next fight will determine who he's going to unify with in the super middleweight division. Now, obviously, people in the industry feel that DAZN and Matchroom are the front runners. Eddie's been involved in a number of co-promotions with Canelo for his past few fights. DAZN has been airing his fights for the past 2 years. So all sides think that DAZN and Matchroom are eventually going to get the two-fight deal, and that means Canelo will fight Billy Joe Saunders in May if that's the case. But there is still hope that Canelo could sign with the PBC side for a two-fight deal, and if that's the case, he'll end up fighting Caleb Plant. Honestly, I think it's 50-50. Now, I think DAZN and Matchroom are slightly the front runners, but not by much, since Canelo is comfortable with doing business with Eddie Hearn, and he does have a champion to unify with at 68. But Canelo has expressed a lot of interest in fighting Caleb Plant for some reason. He was the guy he was gunning for the first title fight at 68. They were in negotiations to fight for December, and had Caleb Plant decided to go through with it and not duck the fight, he would have been the next victim of Canelo, and his IBF strap would have been relieved from him had he gone through with the fight. But of course, Caleb, as always, needs more time, needs a tune up, needs a cherry pick title defense to get out the way. But he had the opportunity to fight Canelo. He was pretty much the guy that was picked by Canelo and his team. They wanted to fight Caleb Plant. But Plant and his manager ducked the fight. Plant already admitted it. They didn't want to fight Canelo on 4 or 5 weeks notice. But hey, man, I mean, Canelo was in the gym. He had the same type of notice, but he stayed in the gym. He stayed ready. And Callum ended up taking the fight on 5 weeks notice and got his ass whooped, and relieved of his WBA strap and Ring Magazine belt in the process. So Caleb could have been the next victim. So to me, that tells me that, Fox and PBC do have a shot here, because Canelo has expressed a lot of interest in fighting Caleb Plant. So if he wins his next cherry pick, most likely he will, against Caleb Truax, he'll get the fight in the month of May, and he'll have more than 5 weeks to prepare for the fight. So there's no excuses. That's 2 times Caleb Plant has ducked Canelo because he complained of not enough time to get ready. Man, dude's a chump, bro. I can't wait till Canelo, whoops that dude and relieves him of his strap. But yeah, that's where we're at. PBC's trying hard to get Canelo's services, and Eddie and Matchroom are trying to not lose Canelo. They could at least, get him back on their airways and have them fight one of their champions, and give Billy Joe Saunders the fight that he desperately needs for his career and legacy. But this is what I've been, saying about Saunders. He can't be just sitting around waiting and doing nothing and hoping that this fight somehow is going to magically fall in his lap. He's had big fights fall through plenty of times before, and there's a very good chance that he's going to get left in the cold once again, and he's going to be without any major fight. So a lot of what Canelo is doing has an effect on the other fighters at around the middleweight or super middleweight divisions. I mean, Eddie just has these guys in limbo. Andrade has been just chilling, waiting, and the WBO keeps reordering that Liam Williams mandatory title defense that never happens. Friggin' Billy Joe Saunders is in limbo, waiting, 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 not knowing that if that Canelo is going to fight him on this May. So he's really putting his career on hold, waiting for Canelo, hoping that this fight's going to lay on his lap. And there's already, there's talks and there's hope that Canelo and PBC could actually do a 2-fight deal. Of course, Abney Yildirim will be a part of that package. I mean, I really have no preference. I don't really care who Canelo signs with. It's pretty much the same result. He gets a chance to unify at 168. Both guys have similar styles, Caleb and Saunders. It's like the only difference, one's American, one's from the UK, and one's a little more experienced and has been a champion in 2 divisions. And this guy, Plant, has had a laughable title reign as super middleweight champion. Ugatowski was nice, beating up the subway guy and a cherry-picked German fighter. And now Caleb Truax, following that title defense, is really nothing to be bragging about as a super middleweight title defense. I mean, Canelo already has a better record as super middleweight, a more established resume than Caleb Platt's entire run at super middleweight since he's been at that division his entire career. So Canelo already has a better win at super middleweight in only, 2-3 fights in the division compared to Caleb Plant, who has more than 20. So it goes to show you the difference in levels between Canelo and everybody else. But once Canelo makes his decision, everything will fall into place. That's why Saunders and Andrade are talking about fighting each other, because there's a possibility Canelo is going to leave the zone and fight on PBC airwaves for at least the next 2 fights. Now the WBO has reordered the mandatory. They have until the end of the month for Andrade and Williams to come to a deal. So announcement is incoming. This should be announced by next week, the end of the month at the latest. And don't be surprised if Canelo chooses the PBC, since he really has a lot of interest in fighting Caleb Plant. Another easy victory for Canelo there. Of course, if he fights on PBC Airways, there is a possibility of getting robbed. So if he fights Caleb Plant, you better make sure to knock him out or dominate every single round. And the same thing on the DAZN Matchroom side. Eddie's going to try to get him beat. And that's his last piece on the chessboard, Demetrius Andrade, because the third Golovkin fight ain't going to happen. This is Boxing Truth. I'm out.